I'm going to share a very mysterious story that had me questioning what all of this really is. At the peak of my addiction arc, I was heavily involved in the study and practice of the occult. This is probably going to sound insane, but I learned that demons are real, whether we believe in them or not. You can think I'm hokey or full of but what I'm going to describe really happened, and it almost took my life. In this video, I'm going to describe how I use substances to tap into different brain states in order to knock on the door of the demonic realm until somebody or something answered. Let's just say I was successful and I'm here to tell the story. I will also share how I finally broke free from the spirit I contacted and, for lack of a better term, possessed me. I developed an obsession with the occult from a very young age because I had a lot of unexplained experiences. And being part of the Catholic community, we were always taught not to engage in these practices. And when you tell a young person not to do something, they're going to be more enticed to engage in it. I had a lot of experiences when I was really young, feeling a presence around me, like something was watching me. It caused a lot of fear in me, even wanting to go to bed at night in my room. I think when we're young, we always have these type of fears, but my fear lasted with me until I was in my 30s. And that might sound funny, but I'm not ashamed to admit that. I've described it in my previous videos. I went through a period where I was taking a lot of psychedelics, LSD, shrooms. I did some DMT. And when I had taken these drugs, I started seeing spirits, whether we want to call them demons, jinn. It depends on what religion you believe in. We all have a name for these spirits. And because I had these experiences, it made me more involved in the occult practices. And because I was going through something at the time, I felt like I needed something to empower me. So I started studying how to actually contact demons and how to invoke them and have them take over me. Now that might sound crazy, but this is something I actually did, and I was successful at it. I had a friend who I didn't really know was an actual witch. They did a tarot reading on me, which I didn't really want done. She basically told me there were a lot of spirits around me that didn't really understand why they were connecting with me, and she wanted to communicate with these spirits, and I told her no. So I ended up buying a lot of books and studying how to communicate with these spirits in order to invoke them and to gain more hidden knowledge, which is essentially what the occult is all about. I recall on one of my psychedelic trips that I started reading an ancient grimoire. Now, for people who don't know what a grimoire is, it's basically like an ancient book that discusses a lot about contacting demonic spirits, witchcraft, stuff like that. I started reading a passage in another language, and there was a spirit around me, and it was communicating with me, and I had asked the spirit to come into my soul and take over me. And literally right after this, I went into full-blown psychosis. Now, obviously there's an explanation for this because I was using hallucinogens, and that can cause psychosis, but I find it very interesting that this opened up some kind of portal to another spirit communicating with me. And the second I invoked the spirit, I totally lost it, and my whole entire life imploded. It ended up getting to the point that I had to be formed in the hospital, and I spent 8 days there, and they put me on medication in order for me to come out of the psychosis. This caused a lot of problems in my life. I have been sober for quite some time now, and looking back on it, as a sober-minded person, I'm starting to believe that this was actually a demon I contacted and that it actually possessed me, and its intent was to cause chaos in my life. A lot of people that are watching this are probably going to be Christian because Christians are generally drawn to this type of topic. But when I was in this situation, no matter how much I prayed to Jesus, nothing helped me. The one thing that helped me get out of this was I started seeing a therapist. I started getting into psychology. I did develop a religious belief, but it was more like I just believed in one God. I started getting away from psychedelics. I started getting away from drugs. I stopped having a fear of the dark after this happened because I forced myself to be in the dark. And I realized that if there's an evil presence in your life, if something is trying to overcome you or it has overcome you, you have the power to get that out of your life. I actually overcame this demonic demonic spirit just from understanding my own psychology and understanding that drugs, alcohol, all of these different substances that intoxicate you can open you up to a demonic attack. At the end of the day, a demon is just a malevolent force, and that could be just a manifestation of your own trauma. It's a term we use to describe anything that causes problems in our life and aids us in making bad decisions. Another thing I found very interesting about this situation is there are a lot of artists in the music industry who are involved in the occult, and a lot of bad things happen to them after they were involved in it. I saw a video about XXXTentacion and how he actually contacted a witchcraft goddess.
We have evidence of X also making a deal with a goddess named Hecate while he was in jail.
Named Hecate, that I had dreams about before I had even taken psychedelics.
He made a deal with Hecate, who is the goddess of crossroads, night magic, and the moon.
Summoning Hecate, goddess of crossroads, darkness, witchcraft, wisdom, and the moon.
I remember doing a ritual to have her appear in front of me, and I had fallen asleep, and in my dream, I looked in my reptile tank, and there was, instead of my reptile, there was a black dog in my reptile tank floating around, and she is always accompanied by a black dog. Sometimes in her manifestations and the depictions of her through artwork, her face is an actual dog. I ended up talking to somebody on the phone in the dream, and the person had a demonic voice, and I had run out of my condo. I woke up right in my condo in the dream, like it was real life. And when I ran to the front of my condo, I saw a giant pentagram in front of my door with the actual characteristics of the satanic symbol. And I find it interesting that somebody like X was involved in this stuff, and a lot of bad things happened to these artists. X had passed away back in 2018. It's kind of scary to see the synchronicities and connections I've had to some of the music I listen to, and the fact that this witchcraft goddess had manifested in my life. Another thing I want to talk about in this video is a lot of times when people go through addiction, they seek religion in order to pull themselves out of it. And a lot of times that religion can become another addiction in itself. A lot of people will disagree with this, but practicing the occult is an actual religion. And when you're bouncing around from religion like the occult to Christianity to all these other religions, and you're just focusing on that, you're not going to get to the root of the problems. I'm not a doctor, I'm not prescribing anything, but there are other factors that help you pull out of addiction. What I noticed is coming off the drugs, coming off the alcohol, getting away from these occult practices and simplifying my life. I just started believing in one higher power. I believed in one God. That helped me understand what the root of my problems were. I got into cognitive behavioral therapy. I started talking to myself more positively, and I ended up ridding myself of this demon that possessed me on a psychedelic trip. And even though I'm a skeptic, I do believe that what was possessing me was an actual demon. My own family members even said it seemed like you were possessed by a demon. If you just blindly go into a psychedelic trip and you have a lot of trauma, it can cause a lot of problems in your life. I'm using these experiences that I went through in order to spread awareness around this topic and share my experience on this channel to let people know that no matter what you're going through, there's a way to get through it. Like the Bible says, you want to be sober-minded. The devil is like a lion seeking to devour people, and when you are not sober-minded, you are not prepared to deal with the devil's temptations. And I truly believe when you do a lot of these drugs, you are opening yourself up to this demonic realm, and those demons are seeking to prey on people that are weakened. I'm just grateful that I got through this and I had stopped doing all of these type of drugs. I am now sober. I am an advocate for being sober in life. I think everything that intoxicates you causes problems. That's all I got for this video. If you want to discuss this further, leave me a message in the comments. If you want to like and subscribe to this video, it helps me reach more people with this message, and it helps me with the algorithm. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening. Stay skeptical. See you in the next video. I'm out.